Welcome to Lesson 6 المدرسة ومواد الدراسة Schools and School Subjects. Lessons Objectives. Overview of verbs in Arabic. We'll review it again as we did in Lesson 5. Conjugation of present tense verbs. We did the past tense verb in Lesson 5, so now we will do the present tense. Listing of common present tense verbs. We will present the same verbs that we listed in Lesson 5 again here in the present tense. Overview of present tense passive voice, similar to how we did in Lesson 5 for the past tense. Study of some vocabulary related to school and school subjects. أهداف الدرس in Arabic. استعراض الأفعال في اللغة العربية. Overview verbs in the language, the Arabic. Again, remember, the adjective always comes after the noun in Arabic. تصريف الفعل المضارع. Conjugation of the verb, the present. قائمة للأفعال المضارعة الشائعة. A listing of the verbs, for the verbs, the present, the common. عرض للفعل المضارع المبني للمجهول. An overview of the verb, the present, based on the passive voice. تعلم الكلمات المتعلقة بالمدرسة ومواد الدراسة. Learn vocabulary, الكلمات, the vocabulary, المتعلقة, the related to, بالمدرسة, in the school, ومواد الدراسة, and school subjects. Now, let's go to the next section of grammar. This is section 2 of lesson 6, grammar. Again, this is the verbs, the present tense, and al-af'alu. Al-af'alu is the verbs as a plural for fa'al. And we are focusing on this in this lesson on the al-fa'lu al-mudari', the present tense verb. There's an overview of the present tense verb. تصريف الفعل المضارع, the conjugation of the present tense verb. Remember that the masculine third present past tense is the simplest form of the verb. Again, review lesson 5. Conjugation of the present tense verb, الفعل المضارع, is accomplished by adding a prefix and, in some cases, a suffix, as well and changing its vocalization. So, if you'll recall in lesson 5, the conjugation of the past tense verb happened with addition of mostly suffix. It's a suffix to the end of the verb and changing the vocalization. When we conjugate the present tense verb, we basically add a prefix, and in some cases, when we run out of prefixes, basically we add another suffix to differentiate between the different pronouns, as well as changing the vocalization as we did in the past tense. The prefix is one of 4 following letters. It's alif, noon, ta, and ya. So one of these 4 prefixes will be used to conjugate the present tense verb. The present tense verb again starts with one of these 4 letters. There are 2 main classes of verbs in Arabic. Verbs with no vowels, basically sound, or sahih in Arabic, And verbs that have a vowel in it, they are weak or ma'tal, ma'tal in Arabic. Here's an example, the same verb that we conjugated in the past tense. We use dhahaba. Dhahaba is the simplest form of the verb. So to make it with the pronoun huwa or he, to make it a present verb, we add a ya in the beginning and we change the accents here. They become yadhabu. Huwa yadhabu. He goes. So dhahaba in the past become yadhabu in the present. When we go with the pronoun hiya for she, we say tadhabu, tadhabu. The ya changes to a ta. For whom, we add a prefix, ya, and we add the waw and the nun, indicated in red, to indicate the they pronoun. Hum yadhabuna, hum yadhabuna, they go. For I, ana, we add the prefix alif. Ana adhabu, ana adhabu. For we use the noon, nahnu nadhabu, nahnu nadhabu. For you, as a male, we say anta tadhabu, anta tadhabu. Here's for you as a female, for feminine, anti tadhabina. We added a ta in the beginning and a ya and a noon at the end. Anti tadhabina. For you as a plural, antum tadhabuna, antum tadhabuna. A ta in the beginning and a waw and noon at the end. Some patterns to remember. If you look at the main three letters of the verb, the dal has a sukoon, the ha has a fatha, and the ba has a dhamma. It stays the same for here. It stays the same for hum. It stays the same for I, or with ana. Same with nahnu. Same with anta. Changes here from a dhamma on the ba to a kasra with anti because the ya is a vowel and it has to be preceded by the kasra before, so it become a vowel. To be a vowel, it has to be preceded by a kasra as we learned before, so the dhamma changed to a kasra. For antum, we need the dhamma before the waw and it stays as a dhamma. So the only change that you see is with anti. When you address a female, anti, you exchange the dhamma with a kasra. Otherwise, the accents, the vocalization of the three main letters stays the same. We just change it, we are just adding a prefix or sometimes a suffix to the main letters. This is the same example that we used before, which has a vowel in the middle. Qala, qala, he said. Qala, he said. So here, this is as you recall, this alif is originally a waw, so it changes to a waw in the present tense. All the alif become a waw here, as you see. So qala, he said, becomes huwa yaqulu. Huwa yaqulu, he says. For here, we say taqulu. For hum, yaquluna. Ana aqulu, I say. Nahnu naqulu, we say. Anta, as addressing the male. Anta تقول, you say. أنت تقولين, you say for a female. أنتم تقولون, you plural. So again, look at the three main letters in the verb: the qaf, the waw, and the lam. You have a dhamma. The waw is basically a vowel and it has a sukoon, and the lam has a dhamma on it. So that pattern basically stays the same, except when you're addressing a female as a you say, you have to change the dhamma on the lam to a kasra to accommodate the the vowel ya. Here, back again to a dhamma, sukoon, and dhamma in the pattern. There's another verb that we conjugated in the past tense in lesson 5, ba'a, ba'a. Here the alif is originally a ya, and it shows the ya right away shows up again in the present tense verb. It follows the origin of that verb. So ba'a, huwa ba'a become huwa yabi'u, huwa yabi'u. You can see that the ya is indicated in green here in all the conjugation with all the pronouns. هو يبيع, هي تبيع, هم يبيعون, أنا أبيع, نحن نبيع, أنت تبيع, أنت تبيعين, and أنتم تبيعون. So here's another example with a verb that starts with a vowel. Here in this case, the waw, wasala, huwa wasala. When we come to the present tense, it becomes huwa yasilu, huwa yasilu. You can see that the waw basically changed to a ya. Remember when we talked about all the present tense verbs have to start with one of four letters: the alif, the ya, the noon, or the ta. Well, here, if we add the ya and we keep the waw, basically it becomes awkward to pronounce. So the waw disappears. So when we conjugate the verb wasala, we change it to a present tense. Basically, the waw disappears and the prefixes will start appearing here. I changed the color of the prefix and the suffix from the regular red to green here to indicate that important change, that the waw disappeared. So huwa yasilu, hiya tasilu, hum yasiluna, ana asilu, nahnu nasilu, أنت تصل, أنت تصلين, أنتم تصلون. So the remaining two letters from the original verb, the sad and the lam the sad has a kasra and the lam has a dhamma. That stays the same with all except again with anti. Anti tasilina. The lam took a kasra instead of a dhamma to accommodate the vowel after. Now let's list or discuss the common present tense verbs in the single third person, again as we did in lesson 5. الأفعال المضارعة الشائعة مع الضمير المفرد المذكر الغائب هو. This is a kind of long thing in Arabic, but I'll explain the vocabularies again. الأفعال, the verbs. المضارعة, the present. الشائعة, the common. مع, with. الضمير, the pronoun. المفرد, which is a single. المذكر, which is single male. الغائب مع الضمير المفرد المذكر الغائب هو, which is he. If you could, it would be great if you could review those in lesson 5 before we start the list here, but I will mention those as I'm going through the present tense, so you remember those if you just looked at it. The first one is he sits. Jalasa. Present is يجلس. I will always indicate the present ahead of the past tense verb ahead of the present, and you would just have to remember what it is from lesson 5. So هو جلس, هو يجلس, he sits. ربط, يربط, he ties. حمل, يحمل, he carries. نسخ, ينسخ, he copies. رسم, يرسم, he draws. دخل, يدخل, he enters. شرح, يشرح, he explains. نشر, ينشر, he publishes. قفز, يقفز, he jumps. كتب, يكتب, he writes. خرج, يخرج, he exits. قسم, يقسم, he divides. عرف, يعرف, he knows. ذهب, يذهب, he goes. شكر, يشكر, he thanks. قبل, يقبل, he accepts. لبس, يلبس, he wears. فهم, يفهم, he understands. شرب, يشرب, he drinks. أكل, يأكل, he eats. وجد, يجد, he finds. Recall as we indicated for wasala, again the waw disappears and the ya takes its present. Again, wajada, yajidu, he finds. Wa'ada, ya'idu, he promises. It's the same pattern. Waqafa, yaqifu, he stands. The same pattern as wasala, wajada, and wa'ada. Here's the vowel at the end. Ghanna, ghanna, yughanni, yughanni. Basically the alif at the end of ghanna become a ya in the present tense. Ghanna, yughanni, he sings. Now let's review the passive voice present tense as we did for the past tense verbs in lesson 5. The passive voice is used with past and present tense verbs. In Arabic, this is accomplished by changing the vocalization of the verbs. So we showed the pattern in lesson 5 for how that is accomplished for the past tense verbs. Now we will show the pattern of how it's accomplished letters in the present case. For present verbs derived from the three consonants past verbs. Again, all of our conjugations, all of our examples are focusing on the three-letter verbs because they are the most common. For these three consonant past verbs, we place dhamma, a dhamma on the first letter and a fatha on the letter before last. So this example, the past tense verb for opened is fataha, fataha. The past tense verb fataha become yaftahu in the present tense. Then if you want to make it a passive voice, you basically change the first letter, you change it to a dhamma, and you go to the letter before that, before end, and you make that a fatha. This is already a fatha, so we maintain that. So yaftahu, yuftahu, yuftahu become a passive voice, present tense for this verb. Fataha, again in he opened, fataha becomes yaftahu, he opens, and in the passive tense, we change the first letter from a fatha to a dhamma, so it becomes you instead of ya, and we make sure that the letter before last is a fatha, and here it's already a fatha, so we keep it the same way. Yuftahu, yuftahu. Al-babu yuftahu. The door is opened. Okay. For present verbs derived from three letters in the past, the three-letter past verbs with a vowel now in the middle, like the example that we keep bringing up, qala, and in the present become yaqulu. Qala, huwa qala, he said, becomes yaqulu, huwa yaqulu, he says. We change the vowel to alif, and we place a dhamma on the first letter. So the ya here has a fatha, we make it a dhamma, and we go and take the waw back to an alif. Yaqulu becomes yuqalu, yuqalu. Again, we change the first letter to a dhamma, the vocalization of that becomes a dhamma, and the waw goes back to an alif in the passive voice case. Yuqalu. And the same way for ba'a. Ba'a becomes yuba'u. Here the ya goes back to an alif. Ba'a yabi'u. Ba'a, he sold. Yabi'u, he sells. In the passive tense, it becomes yuba'u. Yuba'u. For present verb derived from three-letter past verb starts with a vowel. In this case, the vowel is in the middle. Here, the vowel is in the beginning, like wasala, like wajada. We place a dhamma on the first letter, and we put a vowel back as a waw. So this is a little confusing, but bear with me as I explain it again. Wasala, huwa wasala, he arrived. In the present become huwa yasilu, he arrives. The waw disappears and the ya takes its place. Well, when we go to a passive voice case, we put the waw back into it. So it becomes yusalu, yusalu. So we place a dhamma in the beginning on the ya. We take the waw back into the verb, and then the sad takes a fatha, following the same example that we said here. Always the letter before last has to have a fatha if it's a regular letter. And here it's a regular letter, has to have a fatha. So yasilu goes back to yusalu. So we take a fatha on that letter. Akala, he ate, in the present tense become ya'kulu, huwa ya'kulu, he eats. And you could see how the alif here goes to a waw, and we add the ya in the beginning with the dhamma, yu'kalu, and the kaf has to take a fatha here because it's the letter before last. So akala, ya'kulu, yu'kalu, wasala, yasilu, yusalu. So again, let's review this. For the 3-letter verbs that starts with a vowel, that vowel changes to a waw when we take it to a passive tense, and we add a ya for a he. So we put a ya and we change the accent on the letter before that. So whether it's a waw in this case, an alif in the case of akala, they both become a waw in the passive tense, and we put a dhamma on the ya in the beginning.